also understand, though, as we've seen inflation take off in various sectors of our economy, that Floridians need relief from that. And while we can't change the policies in Washington that are driving that, we can do our best to step up and provide relief for Florida families who need it. So our budget will include a recommendation for $1 billion in state gas tax relief, which will help be a cushion and a buffer against the rising gas prices that we've seen over the last year. But we're also doing sales tax relief, holidays. We're going to do Freedom Week again for outdoor activities, a back to school sales tax holiday, and the disaster preparedness holiday, tax holiday, which I know a lot of Floridians took advantage of. Our education budget is very, very strong. I'm proud to say we were able to secure for this fiscal year $1,000 retention payments to every public school teacher and principal in the entire state of Florida. That's over 175,000 individuals. We are doing another round of those $1,000 payments again. And so all public school teachers and principals in the state of Florida will be receiving a $1,000 payment under our budget. We're also dedicating an additional $650 million to continue to boost teacher pay in the state of Florida, and that's $50 million above what we did in last fiscal year. So we're proud of that, and we're proud of the momentum that we have there. The total amount for K-12 schools is $23.9 billion, so that's a record for the state of Florida. It'll be $8,000 per pupil, which in terms of just state funds is also a record for the state of Florida. The base student allocation will be increased by $124, and we also are going to be including funds to be able to effectuate the termination of the FSA and the replacement of that with progress monitoring, which I know a lot of people are very, very excited about. The budget, Freedom First budget, contains over $530 million for workforce initiatives, for programs, for apprenticeships, things that really, really provide great opportunity for a lot of folks throughout the state of Florida, but also continue to support our economy and make Florida a great place, particularly for logistics and manufacturing, which we're starting to do very, very well in. So that is a big commitment, and it's part of our commitment to make Florida #1 in workforce education by the year 2030. We're doing a lot better than we did when I got into office. We're going to continue that momentum going forward. I'm happy to also report for all the parents out there of high school age kids, we will not allow tuition increases for Florida's colleges and universities. We've got to hold the line on that. These colleges and universities throughout the country are way too expensive. You should not have to mortgage your entire future to be able to get a 2 or 4 year degree. So no tuition increases, and this budget fully funds the Bright Futures scholarship program, and we are not going to support any cuts to the Bright Futures program. So parents, as you're looking to see going to a state university or potentially elsewhere, just know no tuition increase, and you'll have Bright Futures there as well. Our environment budget is incredibly strong. We will have in these budget recommendations $980 million earmarked for Everglades restoration and for the protection of Florida's water resources. And when I came into office, we had looked and said the previous 4 years before I got into office, there was about $1.5 billion that had been dedicated to those types of projects. We said we wanted to do another billion on top of that. So our goal was to do $2.5 billion over 4 years. And with this budget recommendation and with the legislator's support, not only will we have achieved that, we will be over $3 billion for the 4 year period, which represents a doubling of the previous 4 year period. And so that is huge progress. And we're not just talking the talk on this, we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're also doing close to $200 million for targeted water quality improvements. These are improvements recommended by and large by our Blue-Green Algae Task Force. And I think that they're really vital as we go forward and continue to protect Florida's natural resources. We have $35 million to combat blue-green algae and red tide, and that goes to things like innovative technologies. It goes to things like red tide research, both at FWC. We've also done a lot with Moat Marines, and there's a lot of great things on the horizon there. So we want to make sure that we're continuing our commitment there that we launched 3 years ago. And we're tripling the money for removing Burmese pythons out of the Everglades. People come from all over the world to be able to do it. There's contests, there's a whole host of things, but we want to provide money to give people prizes in some sense, also equipment, whatever you can do to locate these things. We want to get them out of the Everglades, and so we're happy to support that going forward as well. Even though we're doing a strong gas tax holiday, the Freedom First budget fully funds the Florida Department of Transportation's work program. And it's very important that we continue supporting infrastructure in this state. It is a growing state, and we need to just make sure that we're ahead of the curve there. We've been able to announce some incredible things in different parts of the state. We were just out in the Tampa Bay area recently talking about some of the things that we're doing in West Shore, Howard Franklin Bridge, a whole bunch of really, really good stuff. So we're committed to doing that, and we're going to make sure that that FDOT work program is fully funded. I'm also requesting $100 million for Florida's job growth grant fund. So this was something that I had to veto when COVID hit in June of 2020. We were able to get it in this current year's budget, and we've been able to apply that for some really significant infrastructure projects across the state of Florida that's going to have a profound impact on our ability to continue to expand our manufacturing base, our logistics, but then also using some of that money for workforce education, which we have done for things like expanding people that have commercial vehicle licenses, diesel technicians who work on the big trucks. These are all really, really important things. It gives great opportunity for people in our state, but something, given what you're seeing with the supply chain nationally, Florida, we've stepped up on the ports, and we want to step up across the board on that. We're also fully funding the Sadowski Trust Fund for affordable housing. Now, people want to come to Florida. Things are getting more expensive. Part of the rents have gone up because of the CDC's policy, which was misguided for so long. Nevertheless, we're doing the full funding there. We've talked a lot about supporting law enforcement, and this budget does that in a huge way, probably better than we've ever done. So if you look at what we're doing for state law enforcement as well as state employees, we have a total of $453 million earmarked for compensation increases. We have huge increases in pay for state law enforcement. And if you're a seasoned person who's already on the job, you're going to get a 25% increase in your salary. If you're somebody that's new to state law enforcement, that starting salary will be increased by 20%. We are also, although most of these are not state employees, but we were able to secure this current year $1,000 retention payments for all sworn law enforcement, fire, and EMTs throughout the state of Florida. That was a huge, huge thing. People really appreciated it. Our budget includes those $1,000 payments again for this next year, and I think that that's something very, very important. Look, it helps to get an little bit extra money, but I think what it does really is it shows these folks that Florida really appreciates their service, and that means the world to a lot of them. We are, of course, including money for $5,000 signing bonuses for any experienced law enforcement officer who moves into Florida from another agency out of state, or anybody new to law enforcement within Florida that wants to make this a vocation will also be eligible for a $5,000 signing bonus. We also have earmarked $225 million for pay increases for state employees in addition to law enforcement. So every state employee under our budget, will be able to see a salary increase. And so we appreciate, we've had a lot that have worked very hard over the last year and a half, 2 years, and we're happy we were able to do this in 2020 budget, but we're also going to do even more this time, so we're happy about that. We also do a lot for healthcare. We have $100 million that the First Lady announced this week for cancer research. That's a huge increase in what we had year over year. We also have an increase of funding for a total of $15 million for Alzheimer's research. And we know that that's going to continue to be an important issue in our state. We have $10 million earmarked to help seniors and provide various services for seniors who are suffering from Alzheimer's. And we have $225 million in increased reimbursement rates that will be dedicated to increasing pay for direct staff in home and community-based settings. I think people see throughout the country, you're seeing a shortage of healthcare workers of all sorts. This is something that these facilities need to be properly staffed. Otherwise, our seniors and other vulnerable populations are not going to be able to be served well. Florida is also in our Freedom First budget. We are providing support for innovation in a variety of ways, including in cryptocurrency. We are going to have a pilot program with the Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicles to use blockchain technology to create a pilot program where the titles are done in blockchain. We're going to do something similar with ACA, where they will be able to use blockchain for some of their Medicaid payments. And we're going to have a program to allow Florida businesses to pay state fees in cryptocurrency. And I think you've seen in South Florida, it's been a huge thing. A lot of people have flocked to South Florida over this issue. And so our view at the state government is this is something that we welcome, and we want to make sure that the state government is crypto friendly. So when you look at what we've been able to do to see really historic support for education, both K-12 and higher ed, to see what we're doing to continue to modernize and improve our infrastructure, what we're doing for water resources, the support that we're providing for the men and women of law enforcement. This is a huge, huge budget. This is a huge deal. This is something that's going to have very positive effects, but we're doing that while remaining the lowest per capita tax burden in the country, while providing huge gas tax relief for people, and by having those really, really plush budget reserves, which puts us in an incredible position. And the budget reserves, which are over $15 billion as of the current estimates, will likely be significantly higher there by the time we get to the end of this fiscal year. That is just state money. I mean, that's not including any of the federal money. Our budget, we left over $500 million in the SRF money. We didn't provide any recommendation for that. That's the legislature's baby, and they can spend that how they want to. So this is a really strong picture of a state that's performing very, very well, and a state that's continued to defy expectations in terms of the economic vitality. I think we've done a lot to be able to help people navigate some of the inflation that we're seeing throughout the economy. There's a lot that I wish would be done to maybe go in a different direction nationally, but that's just where we're at. So doing that with the gas tax relief, with the other sales tax holidays, I think will be a very welcome thing for a lot of Floridians, and we're just going to keep on going. We promised we would do these things. When I became governor, we promised we'd tackle environment, we promised we'd be support for education, we promised for infrastructure, we promised to support law enforcement and so many other things, and we're delivering time and time again. So Freedom First budget, freedom works in Florida. We're proud of that. We're proud of being viewed as the free state, and I think that the economic results are something that have been very, very positive. And so I look forward to working with the legislature. I think if almost anyone was sitting here in April of 2020, I think people were assuming that there would just be brutal budget fights and that there would be just draconian cuts. I mean, I wouldn't do tax increases, but people may say we're floating that. And the reality is we're in an incredibly strong position. So that's a good thing, and we're excited to have been able to work on what I think is really, really a great budget for the state of Florida.